Hello and welcome back to the channel, and today's video will be talking about the easiest way to make visual effects in Godot, which is particles. We'll be starting where I left off in my Minecraft tutorial series, and we're going to add some block breaking visual effects. I'll walk you through everything you need to know to set up a particle scene and how to use it in your code. And if coding is not your strong suit, don't worry, we've got our today's sponsor Brilliant to help with that. Brilliant is an amazing app and website that makes learning complex topics like math, science, and computer science incredibly engaging and intuitive. They break down challenging subjects into bite-sized interactive lessons that are genuinely fun to work through that you can do wherever you go right on your phone. And since it's easy to build a daily habit out of it, you'll quickly see results starting to compound. Brilliant's updated programming courses are an excellent way to build a strong coding foundation you need for Godot, teaching you to think like a programmer and solve complex problems. You'll develop an intuition for computer logic, learn to design and debug real programs, and gain practical experience. So if it sounds like something that will help you achieve your goals, you can try Brilliant for free for 30 days using my referral code, as well as get 20% off on an annual premium subscription once you see the benefits. We're going to start off with block fragment particles and go into a new scene. These need to be spawned when we destroy a block, and to spawn something in game using code, we do need it to be saved as a separate scene. Change the type of the root node to one that handles particle spawning. In 3D we have two options for this: CPU particles and GPU particles, and in 95% of cases you want to go for GPU particles. GPUs are better at handling a bunch of small parallel calculations, which is what particles are. To start spawning them, we will need two things: a process material, which defines the parameters for spawning the particles and moving them around, and a mesh, which will define how the particles look. After we create the process material, we can also set the mesh in the draw passes section under pass 1, which in this case will be a cube. Just like with any other mesh, we are able to set the material for it, which in this case will have a brown color that we set in the albedo section. Going back up, also change the size of the cube to 0.2 on all sides, because at the moment this thing is half the size of our block. Then let's go all the way to the top and open up the time settings. The way that particles are spawned is there is only ever this amount of particles, and each of the particles only exists for the amount of lifetime that we set. If the one-shot setting is not activated, once a particle is despawned, the node just spawns another one. We do want the particles here to be spawned only once when the block is destroyed, so we will turn on the one-shot setting. Then to activate them, we can set the emitting parameter to true, and the node will spawn the 8 particles for us and deactivate again. At the moment, the particles are spawning staggered and not all at the same time, which we would want when we destroy a block. To make them spawn at the same time, we can increase explosiveness to 1. To have them spawn in different positions within the block, we can go into the process material spawn settings, and in the position section, we will change the emission shape to a box. That way, the position of each particle will be randomized within our spawn shape. This is also a good time to increase the number of particles we're spawning here, and then let's head back down to the process material and give them some initial velocity. A couple of settings here we want to change. First, the direction of the initial velocity has to be pointed up, because we don't want these particles to just fall right away with the default gravity. The gravity is something that we can change as well, by the way, but we won't for these particles. We will change the y component of the direction to 1 and the x component of the direction to 0, which will give us a vector pointing up. Another thing we can mess around with is the spread. This is the randomized angle from the direction vector that the particles will be going in. So the vector pointing up is just the base velocity, but it can be randomly tilted off to the side by the set amount of degrees. We will set this to 30. Finally, we just need to set the minimum and the maximum starting velocity for the particles, which in this case will be 1 and 2. Testing it real quick, it's already pretty close to what we want in the end, but the particles are just disappearing at the end of their lifetime. What we can do here is actually scale them down so it doesn't look as jarring. For that, we'll go into the display scale section of the process material, and firstly let's add a little bit of variety for the particle sizes. if we change the minimum and maximum scales, the particle proportions will be randomized between those values. And then to scale them down over their lifetimes, we can add a scale curve. On this curve, the x-axis is the lifetime and the y-axis is scale. So if we have a curve that drops off right at the end, the particles will scale down to nothing at the end of their lifetimes. It's a way smoother transition this way. As a last bit, we can also increase the fixed FPS for the particles because they do tend to look a little jittery if this FPS is significantly lower than the rest of the game. Finally, let's save the scene and talk about how we can use these particles in real time. It's not really an option to have them be part of the scene right away, so we'll have to spawn them in code whenever we're destroying a block, which happens in the grid map script. First, we're going to need to load the particle scene into a variable by using the preload function and passing it the file path to the saved scene. Then we're going to create a variable that will hold an individual particle scene instance so we can position it and make it emit particles. The rest of the code we'll want to write in the destroy block function when the player passes the coordinate for the block we're destroying. First, we instantiate a particle scene and save it in the instance variable. Then we set the position of the particle scene to the center of the block that we're destroying. The reason why we go about it this way is because the coordinate that is passed into the function is on the edge of the block and not at its center, but the specifics are a little irrelevant to this tutorial. After that, we want to make sure that the particles are added to the node hierarchy by adding it as a child of the grid map, and finally start emitting the particles. Testing this in game, when we destroy a block, particles get spawned, fall down, and disappear. But there's a slight issue with how it's set up at the moment, where the nodes that spawn the particles just hang around in the memory and we don't get rid of them. This is not a how many nodes can Godot handle until it crashes video, so let's get rid of them. For that, we are going to attach a script to the particle scene, and then with the particle node selected, go into the node window to find the node's signals. If you're not familiar with signals, they are events that happen to the node that can be connected to code to trigger it. What we're looking for here is the finished signal, which is triggered when all of the particles that the node spawned are past their lifetime. So double click on it to connect it to our code. This will create an onFinished function for us in which we want to get rid of the particle node by calling queue_free on it. And that gets rid of those nodes once the particles they spawned are gone, meaning that our memory doesn't get cluttered. So this is just one use of particles. If you want to learn how to make easy explosion effects with them, I will have a link to that at the end of the video. As always, you can get the source code to all of this under the $5 tier on my Patreon. And if you haven't caught the rest of my Minecraft series, you can check it out here. I'll see you next time.